What is up, design family, and welcome back to another episode of Fittdesign TV. As always, so glad to have you lovely folks back on the channel. On today's episode, we'll be looking at how leather is graded and ultimately how the best fashion houses in the world ultimately buy their leather and how they grade the leather accordingly. So if you've ever wondered how Louis Vuitton, how Chanel, how Bottega Veneta, how Prada, how all of these top tier luxury fashion houses grade leather and what they look for when grading this leather, well, this is going to be the episode for you. Welcome to Fittdesign TV. Are you interested in sports fashion, design, and manufacturing? Are you establishing your own brand? You're looking good. Anthony, how are we doing? Do you want to? Thank you. Well, you've come to the right place. Lights, camera, action. Let's start off by understanding that leather is a natural byproduct of the world that we live in. We source leather from a variety of different natural resources, whether it's cows, whether it's deer, whether it's lizards, whether it's snakes. The leather that we get is the natural byproduct of the hide of the animal. And as we understand, there's no two animals that are alike. Therefore, there are no two hides that are alike. Each of these animals has lived a different life. They may have lived in a different climate. They have been subjected to different environmental responses. Maybe they were attacked. Maybe there was a lot of bugs where they were. Maybe they're older, so on and so forth. So when we grade a leather, we'll ultimately look for the imperfections that are on the surface of the skin of that leather. When it comes to how we classify these imperfections, we can look at the four key categories of imperfections that can exist. The first one is going to be wrinkling. Of course, wrinkling is not something that we wish to have in our leather because it creates an unevenness in the texture and the color of the fabric, as well as how it performs. Just imagine this. Imagine getting a Louis Vuitton bag where it's a pure leather bag, it's a box calf, but it's all wrinkled. Or maybe it's wrinkled on one side and it's not wrinkled on the other. That would not be a good look. Next, we look for bug bites. In certain climates and in certain regions of the world, we have a heavy dose of mosquitoes, all of which can cause and leave marks that are very, very deep on the hide of the animal. We also look for scars. If that animal has been in any trauma or any conflict, then these scars are going to appear. And then lastly, we look for scratches. Again, for lighter cases or lighter case scenarios, you're going to want to look for scratches. They are also not something that are desirable on the hide itself. Does the grade of the leather ultimately determine the quality and the price of the leather? In some cases it does, and in some cases it doesn't. We've done a separate video in the past where I go into detail in terms of what outlines a quality leather versus a poor quality leather. But just know that top grain leather, which is at the very, very top of the hide, is ultimately the best leather that you want. So there's a variety of different scenarios that dictates whether a leather is considered to be good quality and if it's going to be expensive. But grading is just one part of that overall understanding. When it comes to the grading system, we are able to assign grades from A to F for each hide. And when a leather inspector is evaluating the hide, they look for what percentage surface area of that specific hide is filled in with these imperfections. At the very, very top tier, you have grade A, which essentially means that there are no visible imperfections on that hide. There's no imperfections from the ones we've listed just previously on that hide. At tier B or grade B, you have the hide that only has 5 to 10% of its surface area being covered with any visible imperfections. At C, you have 10 to 20. At D, you have 20 to 30. At E, you have 30 to 40. And at F, well, you should never see F because it shouldn't be sold to you. This means it's going to be over 40% and it's ultimately been factory rejected. I give you guys a specific example from my own personal experience that outlines how key a good inspection process is to the quality of a leather good. I had the pleasure of visiting the Porsche factory in Stuttgart in 2014. And I actually went to the factory in which they manufacture their 911 models. And as we understand, these are premium luxury cars with a long series of heritage. At the very start of the upholstery department is the leather inspection. And they showed us how they inspect the leather. You have these insanely large hides, right? They're around 2 meters, 3 meters long. And you have an inspector that goes through with a very, very sharp microscope and evaluates every surface inch, every square inch of the surface area of that hide for imperfections. and any part of the hide that is marked with an imperfection, they'll mark with a white chalk with a big circle, and they will eliminate that portion from the overall leather that they use for the chair altogether. So all of their leather upholsteries will have 0 imperfections. They will be a grade A, and this is just a testament to how much effort goes into maintaining the quality across these luxury leather goods. If you guys enjoyed this episode, well, by now you should have a better understanding of what makes a quality leather good and whether or not your next purchase is going to fall in within the framework of this category. The next time you're looking at natural leather goods, now you know what to look for and you know what to reject. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please consider smashing a massive thumbs up. It really does help us out. It keeps us motivated to keep pumping out this content for you. And I say this every single episode, but from the very bottom of my heart, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Fittdesign TV. Until next week's episode, stay awesome.